Good evening. Welcome to the MyCP webinar on community engagement and research. My name is Paul Gross. I am the president and CEO of the CP Research Network, and we've got a handful of great speakers tonight, and we'll introduce them as we go. So the agenda is we're going to do some sort of overview of the organizations and that are involved, and then talk specifically about opportunities in education for engagement and research, and leave lots of time for Q&A. So I've been trying to tell the story of how CPRN was started in a different way of late, and talking about really the meeting that kicked it off. So in late 2014, the National Institutes of Health held a meeting that was about the state of science and treatment in CP. It was really the first time in a long time that NIH had engaged in thinking about CP. So it was a good thing. And the meeting ended with a number of sort of initiatives that were documented in an article, and there were task forces that were formed. And one was to figure out how to establish a national registry to track CP and to use it for research. Another was the need for more comparative effectiveness research. And so comparative effectiveness research is a specific area where you're comparing two different types of interventions. I see my build's not working, but if you're familiar with Iona Novak's stoplights paper, it really shows that there's a ton of interventions. There's not enough evidence, and there's mostly nothing that compares the interventions. And so it's really hard to make decisions. And then there's an estimate of maybe 1 million people, or a little under 1 million people with CP in the United States. Just based on ages, there can't be more than about 200,000 of those that are kids, which means there's about 800,000 adults. And far and away, the most study that had happened was on children. So the study of adults was very important. There was a need to develop a research agenda for basic and translational science, and not just clinical research. It was pretty clear from the group of people that were there that there was a need to bring in young investigators into the field. And there was a strong need to connect the patient community with the investigators that were interested in conducting research. This is my build's not working. So this is the stoplights paper by Iona Novak that is publicly available, and it talks about the evidence base for all of the different treatments and whether or not how strong that evidence is. And so green is it's good to go. Yellow is probably helpful, but there's so many things that operate on the same aspects of the body, and they're not compared, and that's why that comparative effectiveness. And then there was my other diagram. So the CP Research Network was really founded with a mission to optimize the lifelong health and wellness of people with cerebral palsy and their families, and doing that through research, through education, and through community programs. And this photo is from when we did our first bit of co-production or community engagement. This is the end of a PCORI engagement award, where we brought 45 people, half doctors and researchers and half members of the community, to Chicago to finalize a patient-centered research agenda. So we really have 4 program areas: our research and quality efforts, our educational efforts, our efforts to engage the community in research. Our webinars is one of the primary ways we do that, and then health and wellness. So I'm going to pause and let you actually read the vision, and I'll tell you, and then I'll talk about it in a moment. So take a moment and just read that to yourself. Okay, I read slowly, and I can't get Zoom to put away my participants' view, so I'm going to do my best on this. So bear with me. So our vision is that it's really important to engage the community. and really understand what is important to the community to change about their experience of the condition of CP. And the concept of a learning health network is using the data from the treatment of people with CP to continuously improve that. And so you want to get a large number of health systems involved. And this is really what we're doing. We're taking your input as to what's important, and we're working with the health systems to capture data and make measurements so we can continuously improve the health and well-being of the CP population. And a lot of that has to do with measurement of the healthcare system and the outcomes. So as a network, some of our key milestones were we're very focused on this education area, and we launched a toolkit right when we started called the CP Toolkit. It's been delivered to more than 6,000 people, lots of hospitals. We have it translated into Spanish and Portuguese. A lot of hospitals give it out when they do a diagnosis. And then in 2020, we launched MyCP to have a web personalization mechanism for providing, there's just so much information. And so if you have a specific diagnosis, it's nice to know, well, what really pertains to me? And then, of course, we launched our webinar series in 2021 and been doing it every month since then, with an occasional month off in the summer. From a research perspective, we did that first objective out of that NIH meeting. We launched a national clinical registry. It's now got more than 10,000 people in it. And we also launched a community registry so we could collect information when people were not in the hospital, not in the clinic. And that's got over 3,000 people in it. We did that research CP, that picture that I showed where all those people were gathered in Chicago. And that patient-centered research agenda is what drives our work. And we've gone on to do 2 more since then. We've had significant funding milestones through NIH and by partnering with CPRN, which is the largest private funder of CP research in the United States. And we've taken we called our community advisory committee, we renamed it to be our community action committee. And we ask the members of that committee to really engage and review the concepts that we are going to vote thumbs up, thumbs down on to move forward in putting the effort and the resources of the network into advancing studies. So we have a lot of active studies, but we're really seeking to build much greater capacity to include the community in our work. We'd really like to see community members involved in everything. And then on the wellness front, we've partnered with NICPAD to offer a wellness program to the community. So this really sort of summarizes our path. We started with with one patient-centered research agenda, and now we did another one in 2020 and 2021, and then we just are completing one, and there's a webinar next month on an adult priorities one that we've done. We actually co-produced our big adult well-being and chronic pain study we had a panel of people from the community that worked with the investigators to define and test that study from the beginning. And I really wish I could see my slides, but this pain is on top of it. And then, as I said, we got the community action committee very engaged. But in the future, where we really want to go is having people from the community be peers in the research process. That's real, like not, oh, we consult you at one stage or another, but figuring out how to do that is a very big challenge. And so, as I said, I was saying to some people, there's some serendipity. We were looking to build capacity for community engagement and research, and we found that UCP was very interested in this area, and UCP had been working with us in our meetings and whatnot. And so they were sponsoring a family engagement and research training that's put on by the folks at CanChild and McMaster. None of my builds are working. I don't know what's going on with my slides. I apologize. So we decided that would be a great place to collaborate. And then we decided that we really have a lot of surface area of collaboration with UCP. So we formed a strategic partnership around not only family engagement and research or community engagement and research, but collaborating on research initiatives. Christy Bjornson, who's on this call and is our scientific director, joined their National Research Council for UCP. And they have sponsored our annual research meetings, and they're actually hosting us in 2025, which is exciting. We'll all be in Phoenix. And we also hope to initiate a common research project. We haven't done that yet. So that's a little bit about CPRN and our path. And there's my build not going where I thought I had put it, but we also partnered with, we also had the folks from McMaster and CanChild come to our annual meeting and present about family engagement and research, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a bit. So I want to turn the speakership over to Valerie Piericini, who is the Vice President of Clinical Operations and Innovation at UCP of Central Arizona. And she's been coming to our meetings. We've been collaborating a lot. She's the co-chair of this UCP Research Council. She's a member of the International Cerebral Palsy Society, and she runs their program on early detection and early intervention as part of the Cerebral Palsy Collaborative. So, Valerie, I turn it over to you. I'll stop sharing if I can figure out, since I've been having slide challenges all the way. There we go. I'm no longer sharing. And you're muted. Still muted. I can unmute you. No, I can't. I can't.
There we go.
There we go. All good.
I thought you had muted me, so
I muted everybody, but everybody was able to unmute. So yeah.
All right, we figured it out. That's the good thing. Okay. So Paul talked a lot about this, but I just wanted to say, Paul's right. It was very serendipitous. I mean, it was actually amazing, but I kind of think when you do good work, good things happen. So we did start a partnership, and in the midst of all that, we were also looking to work with CanChild on bringing family engagement with research into a UCP. So when I think about this, triads seem to be a thing of this project. And so this Venn diagram kind of shows you what I believe is happening. So we have, United Cerebral Palsy, and we engaged with Cerebral Palsy Research Network. We have a strong partnership. But the fun thing is then we also have CanChild with us as well too in this project that we're going to talk about. And thank you, Sam, for creating the arrow. So that's part of being collaborative, right? I wanted to show the power of bringing these three groups together by having the green be darker when the circles overlap. But PowerPoint had a different idea about how that should look. And so Sam created an arrow for me. So because in that small overlap right there, I believe is the power of being able to bring transformation to both research and for care for individuals with cerebral palsy. I wanted to take a step back because maybe some of you don't know who United Cerebral Palsy is. It is really, there are 56 community service providers, and we call ourselves affiliates. So you can see in the background here that I'm at United Cerebral Palsy of Central Arizona. So there's actually another affiliate in Arizona that does just home and community-based services. Pretty diverse group of providers, very diverse, actually, I would say. And they are across the US and Canada. But the best way to describe this, you could say we provide services and supports communities by community, which is totally true. But the best way to describe it is really this is a network of people who are just boots on the ground. And they're doing that day in and day out provision of just supports around individuals with cerebral palsy, but also individuals with typically developmental disabilities. And so it can go anywhere from education, like we have an early learning center that we include some children that are neurotypical but serve kids with disabilities. I oversee that. as well as we have an outpatient therapy clinic, but we also have sites that have early intervention. They have home and community-based services, adult programs. So it's quite diverse. And then some, because we were talking about all of us being from Midwest, Michigan is actually just resource and referral. So you can see the difference. Paul spoke to this a little bit, but why I think that this is such a powerful coming together, I think is the best way to say it, is that we actually complement each other. And so, you know, CPRN is an organization that its infrastructure is really around its research objectives, also care objectives. And we are, again, those boots on the ground, involved with individuals with lived experiences. And it's there that the evidence can be brought into care. So part of also, so we have this network, but there's different committees, and in particular, I am the co-chair of the UCP Research Council. Like Paul said, Christy has joined us, and that's part of the strength of our partnerships. But the very essence of what this project is, where we're trying to bring together individuals that are clinicians, researchers, individuals that live with cerebral palsy, whether it's their child or themselves, and then also the people that do the work directly at the affiliates. I would be one of those, to have come together around this in this research council to influence the care of our affiliates. But they all have diverse perspectives on how that should look. And that's really the power. Now, this looks like, I actually tried to put the numbers, this looks like we might have 22 individuals. And I would just tell you that, for example, I'm also a clinician, I'm also an affiliate representative. So there's actually 14 of us. So I don't add those numbers and think there's that many people. Some of us wear multiple hats. So I wanted to say I wanted to show real quickly where the family engagement for research sits within our initiatives. And we have two really initiatives, and you can see them in our logo. It's translational research and transformative care. And I took the slide out, but I should have left it. But it's that Michael, my co-chair, talks a lot about that research shouldn't take 17 years to get into care. And so that's really, we have a unique opportunity as being a council to this large of a network to make change in that and transform care. So this is where we are excited about Can Child's program, the Family Engagement and Research course. And I have to admit, they've been very patient with us because we haven't fit their total model, and we've really created something that I think could be special in the end. And I'll talk about so I clearly was into Venn diagrams when I did these PowerPoints, because here's another one. So the FER program was really created for just persons with lived experiences and researchers. And what we said is like, hey, can we add another element? Can we add clinicians? And I'm just going to tell you, I am an occupational therapist. I've been in my role over the clinical operations for not quite 10 years. But the reason my office was up front and why you hear noise is because this is where I thrive. I was that clinician that walked those journeys, even come from this is sort of my family heritage, come from an experience of walking along the path with other families. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist, and I'm super thrilled that some of the children that I saw are now adults, either volunteering or in our programs. So I have the coolest perspective ever of being able to see them progress through their lives, and I feel quite maternal about several of them, I would just tell you. So going back to that, this is important to me. The reason I share that is because I want the clinician to be part of the conversation, at least. And of course, that's important because that's really who UCP is, essentially. And so, thank you to Chan Child for helping us be able to create this process. Oh, there's the arrow. I forgot. I drug Sam's arrow over and I forgot to show that, or forgot to add it. So yeah, there's the strength of the 3. So I just want to highlight some of the things that really attracted us when we were thinking about even engaging other Chan Child, and it's the benefits for the families and the patients, having their voice heard. So in our case, both in research and in care, influencing questions of both research and, in our case, care, and creating trusting relationships with researchers and health professionals. We feel that that is really something that we want to infuse in the very essence of our 56 affiliates. So I don't have to read this whole list, it all applies. But that's why this is important to us, at least. So I added the slide at the last minute, which is why I told Sam that I needed to use my own slides, because we do need you and anybody who watches this video. I've already talked about the power of people coming together, and we still have openings. We still have space within this initiative to be able to join us. And I think I can't remember the start date. I'm stumbling on the start date. I know that Sarah's going to go over that with you. But we're sharing this today to be able to put forward not only what we're wanting to do, and there's going to be, I know that Sarah and Sam are going to share some very, not only the essence of it, but also some pragmatic things if you're interested. But we need you, and this is for Chan Child also, even though they're Canadian. Uncle Sam. We need everybody to help bring change to not only the UCP affiliates, but to all of us who are involved in this process. So I'm going to turn it over to my friends over at Chan Child. So you see Sam, and I just got released by Sarah to not say her last name. And you can see that she's a registered nurse, but she's also, which I love because she's that boots on the ground, the training director of the FER, a training program, and her research focuses on the participatory approaches to be inclusive and meaningful patient and family engagement across the lifespan, which is great because that's what UCP does. So there we go. And then Sarah is a parent of 4, including 2 medically fragile teens, she did share her story with us at one point, and her work is amazing. Also as a family engagement facilitator for Canada's Pediatric Rare Disease Network. She's with Rare Kids Can, which I don't know, and she also works for Chan Child as an educator and facilitator. And she is part of our project. She is our educator and facilitator, as well as Sam's working alongside of us. So I'm going to turn it over to these 2 amazing individuals, and I will stop sharing.
Thanks, Valerie. It's a lovely, warm welcome. And Sam and I are just 2 individuals on this call who are quite excited about this idea around family engagement, patient engagement, community engagement. The words might be different from place to place, but it's that essence of engaging together. And we wanted to actually have other individuals we know and love very well start by telling a bit of their story. And then we'd love to introduce ourselves and tell a little bit about the course.
Hello, my name is Vicky Forster, and I am the lead of patient and community engagement at Women's College Hospital in downtown Toronto.
My name is Fadia Umar. I am a peer navigator with the family engagement team. and I work at the Complex Care Clinic at Grandview Kids.
My name is Marta Bazarin. I am the research coordinator and knowledge worker at Grandview Kids.
I'm actually a childhood cancer survivor myself, so I had childhood leukemia when I was 7 years old, and I actually grew up and became a cancer research scientist. So until last year, I was based in the lab doing pediatric cancer research.
I'm a mom of 2 boys. The older one is 23, the younger one is 16, and the younger one is the one who was born with multiple physical disabilities.
I participated in family engagement as a researcher, as a sibling to my brother with complex needs, a behavior clinician, and as a parent.
A few years ago, I actually did a research project which was informed by my own experiences as a patient a couple of decades ago. So when I was on treatment, I had a rare side effect of one of the chemotherapy drugs I was given. And at the time, I was on a clinical trial, and the doctors didn't really know what was going on. They hadn't really seen it much before. And, it resolved the side effect that I had, but it was pretty traumatic for my family and me at the time. And I grew up and I became a scientist, and my mum used to occasionally say to me, I wonder why that happened. Did anyone ever figure it out? And does it still happen to children nowadays? And I spent some time reading the scientific literature. I think I had an afternoon at work where I wasn't so busy in the lab, and I actually read up about this side effect. And in the sort of 20 years since I had it, there had been a lot more people who had experienced the side effect, a lot more case reports written by researchers and physicians, but nobody had ever really figured out why it happened. And so I ended up doing a small 1-year project to kind of investigate why it happened. And we came up with really useful information, which kind of led to sort of several different hypotheses, which have actually now been investigated by other people as well, and like even more impressive large-scale studies, to figure out why that happened to me, and hopefully stop it for a bit, stop it happening to other patients in the future. So I have a very direct link to my personal experience and how that informed my project as a researcher.
So there was just this one doctor, Maritza, who we took him to, and he looked at him and he said, he was very candid and he was very open, and he said, very honestly, he said that I have no idea what it is, and if you are part of support groups, which I told him I was, he said, go back and ask the parents what it is, and if you come up with answers, bring them back to me. So I did. So when he read all those replies from parents, and like he took time, he went through everything, and he said, I have not read this in medical books. And so he was really open to reading all that, and that was kind of a start of a partnership, I would say, in a very crude, raw form. But that day I saw the power of partnership.
We joined a research study that was exploring an intervention aimed to support families that had a child with autism and feeding challenges. And at the time, this was a big challenge for our family. Throughout the study, we worked with a multidisciplinary team, an OT, a BCBA, an SLP, and a physician. I learned a lot about what was impacting my son's eating, as well as some strategies on how to better support him. At the end of this study, my son's eating may have improved a little bit, but the biggest improvement for me was in my skills of knowing how to not only support him, but how to advocate for his needs using a multidisciplinary approach. So I reached out to the research team to talk about this outcome and my experience from being a participant in the study, and it was through these conversations that we continued to build a rather trusting and reciprocal relationship. And I eventually joined the team as a family partner to help with the knowledge mobilization efforts of their work. But for me, what made this all possible was just the little things that these clinicians were doing to support me as a caregiver, and they really increased my trust in both the overall provider system, but also increased my trust in myself that I do have the skills and abilities to help my son.
So definitely impact. We can increase the impact of research, infinitely by involving people with lived experience at every stage of the research process.
Getting to work with people with different strengths and experiences. A benefit I found as a family leader myself was involved in research gave me what felt like a position of strength for the first time since my son's diagnosis.
Make new friends.
Meaningful engagement can result in quality care for families like mine.
Trust between researchers and patient communities. Inclusive research practices taught through inclusive training.
Listening to perspectives from all kinds of caregivers.
It's life-changing, but as well as changing lives together.
Building trusting relationships with the healthcare system.
Partnerships.
So hopefully that gives you a little taste of what we do with the Family Engagement Research Program. We're going to tell you a little bit more, but we wanted to take a step back and tell you a little bit about who we are and where we're coming from. It's really important in our courses that we take the time to get to know each other. So it's definitely appropriate for us to do a little bit of that tonight. So Sarah and I are both from CanChild Center for Childhood Disability Research. And if you've never heard of that, we are a research center located at McMaster University, which is in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. It's about an hour away from Toronto. And CanChild is really doing applied clinical research and health services research. And we have programs like the Family Engagement and Research course, like the F Words for Child Development. And really, we started out with the idea that in family-centered services, that idea that families are engaged throughout in everything that we do. So from health services and clinical care, but also in research. This is our group. So we're a large group of researchers many who wear multiple hats as a researcher and a clinician, a family partner, individuals with lived experience both in neurodevelopmental disability and also in child health. This is a photo of us, our group, or some of us at the European Academy for Childhood Development. And you can see that we're not just all Canadians, we're coming from all over the world, and many of our scientists are located outside of Canada. I'm going to pass it to Sarah.
Yeah, and it's interesting trying to capture, I guess, just a snapshot for the sake of the time on this call, but we are hoping we can give you enough of a glimpse that excites you to want to learn more. And it's really been interesting already too, getting to know the team through with UCP and CPRN. And one of the things I think we want to clarify too, when we say family engagement and research, from what we're understanding is that it's the word family essentially includes community. So when we say family, we are talking about individuals that are connected together. And so this is not to be misunderstood as the nuclear family, so much as this is about community engagement and research. And sometimes too, when we talk about engagement, I liked how Paul said, this isn't just about asking for consultation or for advice. But when we talk about engagement, this is about involvement, this is about collaboration, this is about co-design. And so we're excited to share with you the course that we're offering called Family Engagement and Research. And it is a course that provides that experience of working together in the triads that Valerie mentioned with the different individuals who are committed to helping children and individuals flourish. And we want to also highlight that this is not just about pediatrics. This is looking at also to the lifespan and how we want to look at the value of engaging together. I loved the word transforming, because what we're looking at is an evolution of care it's changing how we care for each other, with each other, and about each other. So on this screen here, you can see a snapshot of our course. It's 10 weeks, approximately 3 to 4 hours a week. We have weekly group work and activities. And of those 10 weeks, 4 of those weeks include a 2-hour online class. Valerie, you're wondering about the start date. It's there on the screen on Tuesday, September 17 and Wednesday, September 18. That's our first week. That's our first online, that's our synchronous session, we call it. And you would pick between the Tuesday or the Wednesday to attend. You're not attending twice in 1 week. You have 2 options of attending. Tuesdays in the from Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays during the day, and Wednesdays in the evening. To hopefully one of those 2 time frames works with the schedule that you carry. And again, over the course of 10 weeks, we talk about the importance of engaging together in research. How do we find each other? How do we work together through the research process? What are some of those barriers and facilitators to engaging? And what about ethics and in this work of engaging, how do we honor the fidelity of the work? And then ultimately, what are those tools and resources that support and also evaluate engagement? And part of the course includes that opportunity to create tools and resources. So much of what we offer through this course has been co-created by our graduates, saying, okay, this is not just about a group of individuals somewhere in a room far away creating something we're supposed to implement. No, this is persons with lived experience, research scientists, clinicians, physicians, individuals caring about the whole body, about the whole person. What can we create that we can then turn around and use? So hopefully that screen captures a bit of some of maybe the answers to the questions you might have when we say, join us for this family engagement and research course. But we're also happy to answer any other questions that might come to mind in this call. Sam, am I forgetting anything?
Sarah, I think you covered the gist of the course and kind of the key things that we do. I can give a little bit more detail around some of those things outside of the 4 weeks of the synchronous sessions, and those are working in a group to complete discussion board activities. And those look like having a conversation around something that we share in the course and coming together as a group in that triad that you're put together with based on, things that you share in the session, but also things that you've shared in your applications. I think that Valerie and Paul know many of the people who are applying, and so they're using their insights to inform the shaping of those groups as well. And so in those triads, you're working together to do the coursework, but then also, like Sarah mentioned, creating a project. And so creating an infographic or a video or something that's meaningful to you and your group on a topic that's meaningful, and creating it and really figuring out the practice piece of engagement. So I think that's all I'll add, but we're super open to questions. We'd love to hear from folks if you're interested.
Yeah, you know what, Sam, we should mention too, we've had 500 graduates so far, and this course has been happening around the world. We have a strong contingent in Australia, but we also have had different individuals from different parts of the world taking the course. And that's actually been fabulous, just to listen to the experiences of those either researching or as clinicians or as persons with lived experience in other parts of the world, sharing this common understanding that there's got to be a better way forward to close that gap between research and practice, but also to make research even more transforming. So we're pretty excited about this, if you can't tell. So we invite feedback, questions, or follow-up to what was offered. And we can see the chat if you can't come off your audio. We absolutely will. Sam already popped the link into the chat for the website. Application deadline is August 30th, next Friday. The application is not extensive, but it does help us get an understanding of who you are and what is motivating you to take the course, because then that helps us shape those triads. And we want to make the content as applicable as possible as well.
I do have a question.
Yeah, thanks, John. Go ahead.
The days and times may not work for me, okay? This time around, that is, okay? Is there other opportunities later on, in the beginning of next year, whatever?
Sam, do you want to answer that one?
That's a great question. So for this cohort, we're only offering it this fall right now. So that is the dates that you saw on the screen, but we do run the course multiple cohorts at the same time. We have an international cohort. The course is open to anyone to apply. This is specifically for UCP affiliates, and so UCP is graciously funding for people to take the course. We have our international cohort, and the cost of that course is $800 Canadian, but we do pride ourselves that it is free and available for people with lived experience and their family members to take the course. They're not connected to a research partnership for international cohorts. So if you're interested in taking it, you're not able to do it this fall with UCP and you're interested in taking it with us still in the winter, we'd love to have you, and you wouldn't have to pay as a family partner in that cohort.
Do you have a like a video where you can, if you can't make it a certain time, that you can watch it another time during the same week or whatever?
For this cohort, the synchronous sessions, so those Zoom sessions, are not recorded, unfortunately, to ensure that the conversations people feel comfortable to share, and that we're not recording those and putting those online. So they aren't recorded. You do need to attend 3 of the 4 of those sessions to be able to get the micro credential. So it is important to ensure that you are able to commit to all or almost all of the time sessions. Those sessions are really important to meet with other people, but then we offer a lot of hands-on activities in those sessions as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Carrie. Just from a housekeeping perspective, do you pick, I'll go to all the Tuesdays or all the Wednesdays, or can you go back and forth?
You can go back and forth. We want to, John's point's valid. How does this work when you have this schedule, right? And, we want to offer as much flexibility as possible, because yes, you do need to come to the synchronous session, but if one week the Tuesday is better and then the next week the Wednesday is better, that's just fine.
That's great. Thank you so much.
And perhaps another question, maybe, I'm not sure if anyone's got this question, but this has come up before. If, for instance, you needed some support around accessibility, we also tried to offer different ways of supporting all the different learning strengths. And we actually have an accessibility champion who is part of our larger team. And she is also a person with lived experience, and she has done some incredible work to help us make sure that this course is as accessible as possible. If you have some learning needs that you wonder, will that complicate matters? Absolutely. We try our best to make it as accessible as possible. And we'd love to share more about that individually. So feel free to reach out and talk to us about that.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah,
don't
I
know if you
see
can
that. So I'm wondering though, Christina, I'm wondering if, or Sam, are the 10 weeks listed? You have that in the application link, right? Or the brochure link?
I have it in the brochure link, and I'll share a link to that in the chat. We don't have like a traditional course syllabus. It is a very different style of course, this course. But we have all of our information on our learning platform, and that's the link that I post in the chat. When you come into the course, you get your own login and password. And then everything is located in that platform, not in like a hard copy of a PDF like you would traditionally get in an academic course at a university. I'm used to getting like a 10-page syllabus that has like everything outlined. It's all in our platform. And then we've taken the essential pieces of what the course entails and we've put it into our brochure. And so I'll link that into the chat. And if you have other questions for us, we're happy to answer those for you.
Thanks, Carrie.
I might also add, I heard through Andrea that you guys are the keynote speakers at AACPDM this year. Is that correct?
Andrea is.
Andrea is? Okay.
Yeah.
When I say you guys, y'all.
Yeah, so Laurie Glader, who is organizing as incoming president and organizing this meeting, she called me and she's like, that was so great. Do you mind if I ask them to, so like this interconnectivity between CPRN, UCP, CanChild, AACPDM, it's really quite amazing. And so and we are exploring how we could create more curriculum and more funding and access to sort of build more capacity. This can't be this one-off thing. And it's great that you guys at CanChild have a way to take the people with lived experience, but we need to figure out how we can educate our clinician researchers in this area in an ongoing way and not just this one-off, but it's got to start somewhere. So this is great.
Well, and it's also wonderful when we see individuals coming from one organization and taking it. So I do want to do a shout out to Gillette, where we have seen a number of individuals from one workspace taking this course, because then they can take the elements, the essence of that course, and mold it into the culture of their practice. And so that is also just, that's just a wonderful way to create momentum and make something contagious in a good way. Well, I don't mind to put my email in the chat. And if you have some questions that come to mind later, I'm happy to answer them. We also have an email address for the program that we answer regularly as well. If you have further questions or you think, could this work later if it doesn't work this fall, we would just love to hear from you, because if there's something we can do to make this happen, then yeah, we'd love to know about that.
Great. Well, I don't think I think if we've kind of reached the limit of questions, I appreciate you sharing your, did you do that already, Sarah? If you want to put that in the chat. Okay, go ahead, Arthur.
Hi, everyone. I think I was just trying to look through some of the brochure information, and I'm trying to get a gauge on like how much average weekly time commitment it would be.
That's a great question. We say about 3 to 4 hours, but it may not be. It really will depend on I guess there's a number of things to consider, because on the weeks when it's an asynchronous session, when we say 3 to 4 hours, that's including a time you would have set aside to meet with the group that you're working with. So that 3 to 4 hours is not you crunching over a piece of paper or typing up some kind of response. That might actually be, 1 or 2 hours of a Zoom call where you're meeting with your group at a time that works for everybody and talking together collectively on this particular project that you're designing. Or on another week, you know, those 3 to 4 hours include attending the synchronous session that we have together. So it could look like reading or listening to the audio of the articles that we recommend for that week. It looks like meeting together with your group on a Zoom call or a Teams call, or maybe it's a Google Meet. Again, to Sam's point earlier, it's a little bit different from your typical traditional course style. So even when we say 3 to 4 hours, that really will fluctuate based on the types of things we're doing that week. But we want to try to say about 3 to 4 hours of your week would be devoted to that attention. Sam, is there a better way to word that?
No, I think you did a great job of wording that, Sarah. And I would say that I think that this course is intensive, so we won't sugarcoat that. It is time that you need to spend working on the collaboration. That's really what this course is about. And sometimes that can take a little bit more time because you're working with people who are potentially new. It might take a little bit more time if you're new to the idea of engagement. But it isn't just, like Sarah said, it's not just reading and your typical, you know, university course where you're reading and attending lectures. It's really about the time that you're putting into to work on collaboration, to learn both the knowledge and the skill of working together. And so the time for that is hard to pin down if it's 3 or 4 hours. But it is worth the time that you're putting in. So we see the benefits of people who spend the time and really devote those 3 to 4 hours per week in the course. They get a lot more out of it than just trying to, you know, get through the course. It's really about that hands-on piece.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful. I am becoming a parent for the first time next month, and so this is probably not the right time for me. So I will reach out and try to figure out a different time. This sounds like a great opportunity.
Congratulations, Arthur. That's exciting.
Thank you, Paul.
And I would say to John's question, John, you know, you listened in but could not make it to Research CP, but you saw what we did with that. And I think what was super powerful about the 45 people being in Chicago for a day and a half and doing breakouts and working on things together, and the mutual respect and understanding what the other person could bring to the table is so powerful. So you shouldn't think of it as just as a caregiver. Your lived experience can really shape how a clinician or an investigator thinks about a research question in ways it can be really quite transformative. So don't discount your role in life as a person with lived experience versus a parent. I think you could contribute a lot, and you could learn a lot as well.
Okay. Just trying to just understand a little more detail.
Sure.
Just also looking at the time commitment. I'm just
yeah. No, it is a big. It's a big commitment. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I really appreciate the partnership with you, Valerie, and UCP, and the very serendipitous connection that we got with the folks at CanChild who made it to our meeting in either virtually or in person, made it to our meeting in Columbus back in April. I think they're great opportunities, and I think great things are going to come from it. So thank you all for attending. Sign up if you can, ask questions if you have more, and we'll keep you posted. There'll be more to come on this topic.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Great,
good
thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oops,